Hi, this is Isaac, and today I'm going to sum up what the Xsystem is. So, if you want to learn more, I advise you to check the manual itself. However, and again, this is just a sum up of the Xsystem. So, you have a general understanding of what it is. This video is focused on the special effects in Blood, because as you know, special effects vary depending on the engine and the game you're using. And if you already used Duke Nukem 3D's build or Shadowware's build, or just to jump into the modern ages, Eduke 32 and Master 32 as well, you'll notice there are certain similarities, and at the same time there are things that are different. Basically, the original build has high tag, low tag, and extra. Those were some kind of parameters, and when you introduce the right values, you'd get doors, explosions, earthquakes, and things like that. But personally, I like to think that the Blood development team didn't have enough. I mean, they considered that the features included in the original build weren't enough to develop their game, so they wanted more variety. They wanted to have more flexibility, and as a consequence, they extended the possibilities. So that X you see before system makes more sense, hopefully. It's like, let's extend the engine capabilities. Let's extend the system. Alright, all of that sounded cool, but perhaps you're wondering, how do I do things in this map editor? I mean, how do I tell the map editor that what I want are ambient sounds? I want to put breakable lights, I want to make doors, and I want here enemies spawning, and that I want any other effects such as earthquakes or water or whatever I want to. And to explain this topic, I'd like to use the following analogy. So when you want to speak with Russian people, you speak in Russian. I mean, you don't speak in English or German, French, or whatever, because if you do, they won't understand you. So for extended Xmapedit is the same logic. So you need to understand its language before doing things. You need to understand how this map editor and the engine speaks. So you learn how to speak correctly, and as a consequence, you can make any special effect you want. So the question remains, how do I communicate with the map editor? And the answer is very simple, by using the dialog boxes. And what you see here right now down the screen is the dialog box for the sectors. In fact, we have dialog boxes for the three objects we currently have in the build engine, which are sector, wall, and sprite. While for walls we have this one, and for sprites would be that one. As you can see, there are slight differences. There are some parameters that aren't present in other dialog boxes, but the basics are there. And all of that depends on the objects and its functions. Now I'm going to explain what the Xsystem does. So here you have this sprite, and it's just a normal sprite, but when I go here, you can see this sprite has settings. So the former one is just normal, and that one is extended, is an X sprite. Perhaps there are people coming from Duke Nukem 3D and Shadow Warrior wondering what happened to high tech and low tech, and the answer is very simple. Those parameters didn't disappear. What is happening is that the engine are managing them internally. Now the next thing that I like to cover are the functions of each Xobject. And we have 4 functions. The first one is to send and receive messages. Second one, control the state, which is on or off. For example, here you can control the state. The third one is to interpret and implement states in an object in a certain way. And fourth, the last one, is to detect physical triggers. And those functions are possible thanks to the following hierarchy I'm going to explain real quick right now. Here is the type, which is the function of an object. For example, this one is just a slide marked door, which doors goes in a particular direction, and you can see that because of the yellow arrow. The next thing are the channels that you can see down the screen, RxID and TXID. TXID is the sender and RxID is the receiver. In this case, the object which is sending the message is the wall. And the message is simple. Once the player interacts with this wall, open. And open following this direction. Next is the state. I already talked about it, and it's an element that controls the behavior of the type. Obviously, it's binary. We have on and off. Here we have the command, which is an order to perform a task. So in this case, for the wall is 3 toggle. Here we have the trigger, which is a mechanism that starts an action when an event happens. So for this object, if you go to trigger on, you see the push trigger activated. And to conclude, we have the flags. The flag is just an element that controls a behavior. Don't worry, because by practicing, you'll understand the Xsystem. Perhaps it feels overwhelming at the beginning, but then again, with practice, you'll master it. So, before finishing this video, I'd like to say something that is really important. There are certain parameters that won't work with certain types. For example, let's see. Yes, this one. This is a GIF object. So if I want to apply the proximity trigger, I can. There is no problem, because the type is 416. However, if I want to use that trigger to this sprite, for example for this cultist, I won't be able to do it because the type is completely different. So if I want to trigger certain special effects with this cultist, I won't be able to use the proximity trigger. Simply put, it is what it is. So I don't know the reasons behind that. Just keep in mind that not all the parameters you see in the dialog boxes will work for every object you have in Xmapedit. And you need to memorize. So this is the end of the video. I hope this was helpful, and don't hesitate to watch other videos where I cover different effects. That way you'll be able to understand the Xsystem and how to set up special effects.